Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 2022 Council Agenda Briefing. We acknowledge and pay our respects to the traditional custodians of this land, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and their elders past and present. I would like to advise everyone that the audio of this meeting is being live streamed to YouTube. I request everyone to please turn off your mobile phones. I remind you that audio recording of the meeting proceedings and photography within the chamber is prohibited unless prior approval has been granted, and councillors and city officers are reminded to disclose any declarations of financial interests and interests affecting impartiality, and are requested to activate their microphones when addressing the meeting. So, item 1 is the declaration of opening. Welcome. I declare this meeting open at 1 minute past 6 p.m. I'd like to take this opportunity to give a warm City of South Perth welcome to our new Director of Infrastructure, Anita Amprimo. Welcome, and we're very glad to have you with us. Items for Council. Agenda items 2, 3, 6, 7, 8.1, 8.2, 9, 11, 13 and 14 will be dealt with at the ordinary council meeting to be held 22 November 2022. Item 4 is attendance. Item 4.1 is apologies. I have received an apology from Councillor Carl Sullivan for this evening. Item 4.2 is approved leaves of absence, of which there are nil this evening. Item 5 is declarations of interest. I have a declaration of interest to make. I'm declaring an impartiality interest in item 10.1.1, which is City of South Perth Aspire Community Citizen of the Year Awards 2023, nominations, assessments and recommendations. And the reason for that interest is some of the nominees are known to me. Councillors, does anyone have any interest that they wish to declare? Councillor Cridland.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to make the same declaration of interest or disclosure of interest as that you just did.
Thank you so much. Councillor Navard, I think you were next.
Yes, my declaration is exactly the same as the previous two.
Thank you. Councillor Choi, I saw a hand go up there.
Yes, and my declaration of interest is exactly the same as the previous three. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other declarations this evening, councillors? No. Moving on then. Item 8 is presentations. Item 8.3 is deputations, of which there are nil this evening. We move on to item 10, which is the draft November reports. And I now hand you over to the Chief Executive Officer, Mr Mike Bradford, to take you through the balance of the draft November reports.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Item 10.1.1 is the City of South Perth Aspire Community Citizen of the Year Awards 2023, nominations, assessment and recommendations. This report seeks Council's approval of the award recipients for the City of South Perth Aspire Community Citizen of the Year Awards 2023, and I note that there is a confidential attachment to this item as well.
Thank you, Mr Bradford. Councillors, any questions on this item? No. Next item, please, Mr Bradford.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Item 10.1.2, City of South Perth Access and Inclusion Plan 2022 to 2027. The City's Strategic Community Plan 2021 to 2031 includes a range of strategies related to supporting a diverse and accessible community. The City had a former Disability Access and Inclusion Plan 2017 to 2021 that has recently expired. A new draft Access and Inclusion Plan 2022 to 27 has been developed by the City to outline how access and inclusion outcomes will be incorporated within the City's community programs, services, projects, events and facilities into the future. The draft Access and Inclusion Plan has a broader scope than the former DAPE and includes access and inclusion actions for all, including people with disability, people from diverse backgrounds and people who are disadvantaged. The draft Access and Inclusion Plan requires public advertising to invite community and stakeholder comment. The revised draft 8 will then be represented to Council for final endorsement.
Thank you very much. Councillors, any questions for the administration on this item? Councillor Choi.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've got a couple of questions. The first one is, did the city consult with local disability groups during the preliminary engagement period? And if so, which groups were these, please?
Mr Quigley or Ms Lommer? Mr Quigley? Yes.
Thank you, through the chair. The consultation that has been undertaken to date has been preliminary in nature, so there's been internal consultation and also some external engagement, which is outlined in the attached plan. But the city proposes that once the plan is endorsed for public comment, then further consultation will occur at that point before it's brought back to council for final endorsement.
Thank you, Mr Quigley. Councillor Choi, did you have a follow-up question?
Thank you, Mr Mayor and Mr Quigley. How many people out of the 24 respondents to the preliminary external engagement identified as having a disability or being a person who cares for someone with a disability?
Mr Quigley?
Through the chair, I don't have that information at my disposal, so I'll take that question on notice. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Choi, a further question?
Yes, one last question. Thank you, Mr Mayor, and again to Mr Quigley. How will the city ensure that the people for whom the plan is intended will be able to access the feedback forms and be able to respond during the engagement period, like the public engagement period following if this plan is endorsed?
Mr Quigley?
Thank you for the question. Through the chair, the city want to take a range of external consultation to ensure that it's wide in its approach, including our normal methods through Your Say South Perth. We'll also be writing to various stakeholder groups and engaging with advisory groups that are related to access and inclusion.
Thank you, Mr Quigley. Councillors, any further questions on this item? No. Next item, please, Mr Bradford.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Item 10.4.1, listing of payments for October 2022. This report presents to Council a list of accounts paid under delegated authority between 1 and 31 October for information.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions on this item tonight? No. Next item, please, Mr Bradford.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Item 10.4.2, monthly financial statements for October 2022. The monthly financial statements are provided within the attachments A through I, with a high-level analysis contained in the comments of the report.
Thank you. Councillors, do we have any questions for the administration on this item tonight? No questions? Next item, please.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Item 10.4.3, City of South Perth Penalty Units Amendment Local Law 2022. This report proposes that Council, in accordance with Section 3.12, bracket 4 of the Local Government Act 1995, makes the City of South Perth Penalty Units Amendment Local Law 2022, which will amend the City of South Perth Penalty Units Local Law 2003. This local law was presented to Council in July 2022, when Council endorsed the amendment process and resolved to give statewide public notice of the proposed amendment. This report considers the feedback received during this process and recommends the City of South Perth Penalty Units Amendment Local Law 2022 be made.
Thank you, Mr Bradford. Councillors, any questions on this item? I might ask one. I am conscious that there was a little bit of debate about this item last time it came before Council. Perhaps my question is to Mr Adams. Can you just give us a quick sort of rundown of what this change means in practice?
So at the back of each of the local laws, there is a schedule which has the penalty units for each of the offences under that particular local law. So, for example, in the parking local law, we have something like stopping contrary to a stopping sign, which incurs a penalty unit of 15 penalty units, a penalty of 15 penalty units. Previously, that would have equated to $150. That would now be $195. So it applies to all of the local laws that we have that have those penalty units prescribed in the back for each of the offences. So that's the application of it.
Thank you very much. Councillors, any questions? No. Next item, please, Mr Bradford.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Item 10.4.4, Corporate Business Plan 2022-23 to 2025-26. This report presents the draft Corporate Business Plan 2022-23 to 2025-26 for consideration by Council.
Any questions on this item, councillors? Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. At the workshop where we discussed this, it was noted that this document was to be put before the ARG. It would seem that the city has had a change of heart. Is there a reason why we've done this now?
Mr Adams.
Yeah, so it was scheduled to go to the ARGC, which was previously going to be held the week before this meeting. And then it would have gone through the ARGC and then to this meeting. Given that virtually all of council is on the ARGC anyway, and that meeting has now been delayed until the 28th of November, we thought it was appropriate to put it to this meeting without going to the ARGC meeting.
Thank you, Mr Adams. Councillor Russell.
So in order to get comment from the independent members, is there any reason why it couldn't be deferred to the December OCM? Are we still within the legislative timeframe?
Mr Adams.
Yes, I think the only thing that may affect is that there is a KPI measure that we would have had this done by November. And so I guess, due to the circumstances, it may be that that KPI, I guess, is still seen as being met, even though it hasn't been formally adopted. But it could go to the ARGC meeting and then through to the December meeting of council without any real problems.
Any further questions on this item, councillors? No. Next item, please, Mr Bradford.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Item 10.4.5, revocation of Councillor Andre Brenda O'Brandis Council Caretaker Policy. This report is to consider a motion submitted by Councillor Andre Brenda O'Brandis and supported by two additional councillors to revoke Council Resolution number 0222 of 13, Council Caretaker Policy made at the City of South Perth Ordinary Council meeting held on the 22nd of February 2022. The motion also requests the City to proceed with the development of a draft Council Caretaker Policy for consideration at the Ordinary Council meeting to be held in February of 2023.
Thank you, Mr Bradford. Councillors, any questions for the administration on this item? Councillor Brenda O'Brandis.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just with regard to the Walga model, it's quite comprehensive. Could the administration just advise to what extent we'd adopt virtually the entire model, given it's a very comprehensive model, and I think it would work quite well for the city?
Mr Adams, should I send that one your way?
I can't really comment on what you'd adopt, but I can comment on what we'd put up for adoption. And basically the intention would be that we'd put up that Walga model in its entirety with some additions that have already been discussed by council previously, and I guess some others that would be forwarded during the feedback process.
Mr Bradford?
And also the Walga model needs to be adjusted for some of the legislative changes that have occurred since it was drafted.
Any further questions on this item, councillors? No. In that case, that brings us to item 12 on the agenda, which is motions of which previous notice has been given. There's one item here, item 12.1, a notice of motion from Councillor Andre Brenda O'Brandis entitled Financial Expenditure. Councillors, any questions for the administration on this item tonight? Councillor Russell.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. For the uneducated like me, what's an inception to date? What exactly is that definition?
Mr Adams.
Well, it's not a term that I would normally use, but I think Councillor Brenda O'Brandis has identified what it means in his reasoning. Basically, from the time of the first expenditure on the RAF to the current period in time is how I would interpret it.
Any further questions, councillors? Councillor Cridland.
If this motion is passed, will the detail of information provided in respect of the RAF costs be at a granular level so that we can also see what part of the RAF costs relate or are delay costs that flow from the delays of the council in passing necessary milestones, such as the requirement to re-tender, the requirement to liaise and re-communicate with the state government and the Commonwealth Government?
Mr Adams.
That's not what's been asked for in the motion, in the notice of motion. I'm not sure how we would get to that sort of level, but I guess, you know, a lot of what's in here is at a granular level. So in doing the review of the expenditure, we could probably make estimates of what was spent on particular tasks, such as renegotiating with the Commonwealth Government and you know, the additional expenditure that was associated with some of those things. So yes, we could do that, but I think you'd probably need to amend the notice of motion to direct us to do that.
Any further questions? Councillor Russell.
Just seeking clarification on receivable analysis. We've got two dates here, the 30th of June 2022 and the 30th of November 2022, which are close together. What? I don't know. Can you give some clarification what that exactly is?
Mr Adams.
Considering that the dates are very close.
So, no, I can't clarify it. I think the councillor putting it forward would probably be best placed to clarify it. I'm just taking it for that we provide all of that information at those two particular dates. That's all I would be doing.
At this point, I would note that the policy underpinning council agenda briefings is clear about questions only being asked of the administration, but perhaps that question can be taken offline. Any further questions for the administration on this item tonight, councillors? That's a no. Okay. All right. Well, ordinarily, this would be item 15 when we close the meeting to the public, but there's no need to do that tonight. That brings us to item 16, which is closure. I declare the meeting closed at 6:18 p.m. I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance and participation this evening. Thank you all, and good night.